As in standing on the floor of that convention in Philadelphia, I think starting when President Obama spoke and having her come out and watching that embrace, I have never seen her in that moment. Obviously, it was a new moment. This is all new for her at this point. We think she's done everything before. This is a new moment for her. But the look of gratitude and so grateful for that, and to watch those two have that moment as the music played and things, I thought was just extraordinary, and it gave her energy, I think, and for the path forward here. The question is, she is now completely embracing and fully locked into this third term of the Obama administration. No doubt about it. A year and a half ago when she started this journey, no one would have ever thought she would have doubled down quite so much on that. Now it's obviously the best strategy here, but that is the overall question hanging over all of this. Can you still be a maker of change, as Bill Clinton argued over and over, and still hug the president as robustly as she did?
Let's get to that. I was going to get to that in a minute, but let's get to that. The President of the United States, she comes out and she has that embrace. That's going to be in Democratic ads. It's also going to be in Republican ads, right. I suspect. They're going to say you don't want a third term. The president tried to make the point, he came out and there was this, how much does he love this? Remember, they were rivals. He beat her 8 years ago. Then he brought her onto the team. The president was all in.
That is the Hillary I know. That's the Hillary I've come to admire. And that's why I can say with confidence, there has never been a man or a woman, not me, not Bill, nobody, more qualified than Hillary Clinton to serve as President of the United States of America.
Now, they might take issue with that at Mount Vernon and Monticello. But in terms of this campaign, that is all in, and he is incredibly important. But you mentioned there's a risk in that. I mean, this is. I think she's just decided, sure, there's a risk. But if I'm Al Gore and I back away from it, I lose anyway. I make it worse. So I'm all in here.
Yeah, and his numbers are up. I mean, he is an asset in a way that he wasn't a year ago. But I do think, this is kind of a change in status quo election. Jeb Bush found that out the hard way against Donald Trump. So, I mean, there's all these different factors in a general election versus a primary, but it is a risky strategy to continue to sort of hug the president and not sort of find ways to sort of be different. And I think that's her challenge.
When was the last time you saw a candidate hug an incumbent president like that? It's been a long time, but arguably Obama made a better case for Hillary Clinton than Hillary Clinton did on the night of her historic nomination.
Yeah, and I mean he's obviously trying to make a wholesale transfer of the Obama coalition to Hillary Clinton. He told the audience there, carry her in the way that you carried me, and I think that's the big test of this election. Are those Obama voters or are those Democratic voters? Did he sort of highlight the demographic change, or is that demographic change inevitable no matter what?
And you could feel a mood shift throughout the week in terms of the Are Democrats Unified? Yes, there were people at the convention hall on the floor on Thursday booing her, no doubt. That was just some disgruntled Sanders people. But the ones I talked to overall are in with her, at least those delegates. There was a woman from the Panhandle of Florida who I watched during the entire speech on Thursday night. She was a Bernie Sanders supporter through and through. By the end, she was holding up a homemade sign, "My heart is with Bernie, but my vote is with her." And I talked to her, and that's because she said Donald Trump is unacceptable here. So I think the Democrats coming out of this convention more unified. You have to give it to Bernie Sanders again for taking one for the team. And he has an incentive, of course. He wants to be the budget chairman or chairman of some committee in the Senate.